We're Nerd Cult Online, and this is the Williams Pinball Collection I. The first table in the pack is Attack from Mars. Now the challenge for this table is basically centered around stealing one of the UFOs. Now, pretty early on this table, I actually got pretty excited because when you open up the ramp in the center, it basically destroys one of the UFOs, and so I thought that was actually going to be what it was counting for, that because it does show one of the UFOs flying at the same time, but that is not quite it. And so unfortunately I have not figured out how to steal a UFO yet. Now the first time I saw this table, I was thinking that it was actually based on Mars Attacks, or that Mars Attacks was based on this property. I'm not sure if either are actually related, but clearly the aliens, other than the fact that they are from Mars and have UFOs, seem to have nothing in common. Now the table itself is quite a bit of fun. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about it is just the huge scores you get for like doing almost everything. I think my low score on this table is in the hundreds of millions, where my highest score being 200 million plus, and it is so satisfying to see those high numbers just rack up like that, and really adds to the experience of the table. So this one is definitely a lot of fun. So out of the 9 tables in the pack, this one is an absolute win. Now the pack itself, like I said, it does have 9 tables. It's about $23 or $24 for the entire pack. That makes each table less than $3 each, where typically you're looking at between $4 and $5 per table. So when you're looking at the overall cost of it, it's definitely well worth it. The second table in the pack is Medieval Madness, and as the name would imply, basically is knights and castle themed, similar to the Zen original Excalibur table is. Now, when doing this table, we were doing one of the event versions of the table, which basically only allowed for 1 ball, and so we ended up playing it a few times with just the single ball, just to see how far we could get, and unfortunately did not score nearly as high as I would have liked, but we did at least achieve the minimum requirement a couple of the times, if not all of them. I believe we did it once, but for the most part, most of the scores were way lower than I'd hope. And the table as a whole, definitely has a great aesthetic. I love the classic look and feel to it. It's not one that I've ever played in the past, and or recall ever seeing, but I did find the table enjoyable. But the scores were significantly lower than Attack from Mars, and with that and my poor skills, wasn't as nearly as much fun as the first table was. But overall, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't a great table either. Next table in the pack is the Getaway High Speed 2. Now this one was basically one of the first ones that we started recording using the 5-minute mode, and the main challenge, basically you have to get up to the high speed and then I believe score a multi-ball, which I was never able to get the score high enough, the speed fast enough for that. Did trigger some multi-balls, but the figuring out which ramps to hit to actually increase the speed, I wasn't quite getting, or the ones I did figure out, I wasn't hitting consistently enough to keep that speed up. So that definitely became an issue. Now, I do like how the ball starts out with that bright red. I wish that it would stay like that through the entire play. And, like in Pinball M, I wish that you had the ability to replace the ball with something like that. And so that right there was basically me pausing it to see what the challenge was. But overall, I did find the table to be a lot of fun. Another one with really high scores for a lot of the ramps and such to hit, and definitely found it to be a lot of fun. Just need to spend more time with it to figure out really where to keep that ball going to maximize my speed. But especially love the overall look of the table. Again, the ball, the burning track there as it's ramping up in speed, and hitting that the very first time was so awesome, so exciting. I had an absolute blast on this one, and I feel that probably a few more playthroughs on it and I will have a better understanding of what ramps to hit, and I don't see this challenge being incredibly difficult in the end. Next table in the pack is Junkyard. And of course, as always, these are Williams tables. And so that was me checking the challenge. At the time of doing this voiceover, I did not remember what that was, or nor did I pause long enough to see what it was either. Now, one thing I really don't like about this table is just the overall perspective of it. With this exact angle, it became very difficult to actually see much detail of the table, most of the ramps and how to do it. Now, I don't remember what the challenge was. I believe it has something to do with that wrecking ball that you can hit towards the top center, but the specifics of it I really don't recall. But overall, I did find the table to be a little disappointing. The scores not quite what I was hoping for them, and but one thing I did like is these mini game modes like this, where you're basically trying to shoot things down as they arrive, and basically ramping up your score for that. And so this one actually has multiple mini game modes, and so that was really a big plus on this one. The next table is Black Rose. Now, thematically, this one is definitely my favorite out of the pack. It is pirate themed. Now, this is, again, another one I have not seen in real life or even knew about prior to getting this pack. But pretty much give me something pirate themed in video game form, and it's definitely going to be a huge plus for me. Now, this one features some not really mini game modes, but different perspectives while you do different things. Specifically, there's a cannon you can fire, which you can kind of see in the middle of that big circle towards the bottom. But firing the cannon and figuring out where to fire it, that's the part I haven't figured out yet. I have a feeling that it's supposed to go straight up to the back in order to maybe hit a skill shot or something. Haven't quite figured that part out though. But I did find the lower scores to be a little disappointing. Was hoping for the huge point grabs like the Martian table, but aesthetically and gameplay, definitely found this one very enjoyable. Had a lot of fun and love the aesthetic. I hope that we see more pirate themed tables as time goes on. The next table in the pack is the Party Zone. Now, this one basically is kind of centered around like a family play place, and basically a birthday party, and the whole object for the challenge is to actually bring all the party goers, or rather meet all the party goers in a single playthrough. Looking at the game and the table guide, it looks like that kind of center block area is where you do most of that. But as far as how to trigger it beyond that I haven't figured out. But the table itself is actually quite a bit of fun. I love the dynamic views, especially like when you trigger that rocket. The fact that the rocket's always following your ball, lighting that guy up, definitely gives a lot of different views and makes for a more entertaining table, taking you away from just the general monotony. Overall, I'd say this is by far one of the best tables in the entire pack, just for overall entertainment value and overall just a lot of fun to play. So next one is Theater of Magic. This one is obviously centered around a magician's show, and kind of gives me the vibes of like maybe like a Vegas type magician's show as far as like the scale of some of the theatrics behind it. Now, out of the entire pack, this one is by far my favorite table. The overall aesthetic, the design of the table itself, the layout, the cool effects with the ball, which you're going to see here in just a little bit as it kind of glows, and huge point values as well. Had an absolute blast with this table. This one is so much fun, and for this one and the Martian table at the beginning, it definitely makes this whole pack worth it between those two. But there's so many great gems in this pack, well worth the cost, especially at how cheap they are per table. And so this one's an absolute blast. Hitting that cube there, I have a feeling is going to tie into the challenge, which I don't remember the specifics of, but I believe it's like hitting the wizard mode or something like that and getting that started. And there's the glowing ball that I mentioned. So basically, doing certain things will trigger that. But overall, this table is an absolute blast, well worth the play. And I know I'll be going back to this one many more times. Next on the list is Champion Pub. Now, Champion Pub basically is a kind of a bar-themed boxing ring where you're basically training, and then you have fight nights. The challenge is actually based on fighting and defeating all 5 of the different boxers. Playing this table in the first 5 minutes, I was able to do that with one of them. I failed the first time and had to trigger him a second time in order to beat him. The table is a lot of fun. The fight mode is very unique, very creative. I had a great time basically hitting the punching bag and then punching the guy in the face a bunch of times. And this is another great table for this pack, and helps make this pack a definite win for sure. Overall, though, aesthetic, I kind of didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it definitely wasn't this, and very quickly found myself just absolutely enjoying the table. So much fun and total blast. Now, the final table out of the pack is Safecracker. Now, this one I probably did the worst on overall over the 5-minute playthroughs. As far as getting the low score, it's a very cool concept. The challenge involves collecting, I think it's like 20-something dots, and I think those are what you see in the circle there. So getting those and basically playing that like a board game, I believe is how you complete the challenge. But when I finally actually got that event going, I ended up running out of time and not able to complete it. So wasn't able to fully experience it or see if I was right. But the table is fun. Great concept, trying to avoid police, trying to break in, and Having multiple mini games going on at the same time as you go, while you try to steal different items and increase your time before the alarm goes off. And so because of that aspect, I had a good time with it. But hitting the ramps I wanted to hit and hitting the bumpers I want to hit and everything, I had a really hard time doing that. As you can see, a lot of the balls I lose pretty quickly and just drop down just like that fast. And so had a lot of difficulties with this one, but it definitely wasn't a bad table. Kind of wish some of the other ones would have been my final table for the pack, but in the end, it still was enjoyable. And overall, again, this entire pack for being $25 is an absolute win.